I just made the biggest skirt I've ever made. Of course it has pockets. What kind of question is that? I think if I keep going, I can actually bring it above my head. And today I'll show you the most simple way to design and make a circular skirt with as much drama as this one, or something a little bit more practical. Welcome back to our new series, Quick and Easy Summer Clothes, where I show you how to design and make garments that don't take more than a day from start to finish. The reason for this is very personal. We moved from the UK to Portugal with very little clothing and almost no summer wardrobe at all. So this season I mainly focus on designing the base for my future perfect summer wardrobe, because I'm still not sure what works, what doesn't. In every video of the series I keep talking about the base of the wardrobe, the very simple garments, but you know what, I've been designing very practical clothing for the last few years, and sometimes I just want to make something a little bit irrational like this skirt, just for fun. And it's really easy to make, and today I'll cover all the possible designs for your circular skirts, so you can make something still like this for your soul too, because why not? If you're new here, hi, my name is Liza Bennett. I'm co-founder of Arkdefo, designer and educator. And I used to have a very complicated relationship with my body, and the clothes that just don't fit played a major part in it. But everything changed once I stopped trying to fit the standards and started working with my individual measurements, my body shape, my posture. And after spending some time on figuring out my personal style, my confidence skyrocketed. I actually love what I wear now, and the clothes make me feel good. I love the reflection I see in the mirror, and I don't have those days when I have nothing to wear, because everything that I make always works for me. I know firsthand how life-changing the right clothes can be. And that's why we started our online clothes making school, where we teach you all the steps of clothes making, from basics of sewing to styling and pattern drafting, how to work with what you have, how to include your natural complexion and your body type into design, and how to create clothes that you would actually love to wear. We don't offer you any ready patterns, because there is no point selling you something that we know by default won't fit you. Instead, we teach you how to turn your unique measurements into custom pattern blocks, and then use those blocks to design any garment you really want. Every single sewing pattern starts with a block. It's the base. And this base is at the core of what we teach. Once you get the base right, you can create new patterns in literal minutes. Instead of deciphering complicated instructions, you just learn the entire process from inside out, and you understand how to put any garment together. We often get told that we make it all look very simple, but this is because we do make it simple. We don't use complicated lingo, and we don't offer you meaningless, boring projects. You're getting results from day one. All the courses are available immediately after you sign up. They consist of pre-recorded video tutorials, which means that you can take any course from anywhere in the world at the time and pace that suits you, and I'll drop the link below this video. Back to the circular skirt. Why is it so easy? Because it's literally a circle with a hole in it, kind of like a donut. And there are two ways to design the pattern for the skirt. First one is to use this formula from the school maths. What you do is you basically draw a circle, which is the circumference of your waistline, and then from that circle down you measure the length of your skirt and kind of drew a second circumference. But of course you don't need the entire circle, you can use like a quarter of it. But since this series is about super lazy designs, we won't be even doing this. We'll make it in a second way, which is, to me, a lot more simple. You will only need two measurements: your waist circumference and the length you want your skirt to be. Alternatively, you might want to use your hip circumference if you want to put your skirt from the bottom up and just have an elastic here, no zips, no buttons. In that case, you want to include your hip measurement, right? So that middle of the donut will be not your waist circumference, but your hips. We'll start with the most standard circular skirt, where the pattern is a full circle. To design your pattern, you want to divide your waist measurement by 4. Why 4? Because you only need 1/4 of the full circle to design your pattern. So you need only 1/4 quarter of your measurement. And listen, there are different ways how you can divide the circle into pieces, right? I'm just doing quarters because it's the easiest one to follow. Of course, you can make it out of more pieces, and then you need to recalculate the little waist measurement for each individual piece. For this video, I'm always dividing my circle into 4s because it's just really clear to follow the principles, okay? Just keep in mind, even if you're designing a quarter of a circle, you want a lot of paper. It doesn't have to be one full sheet of paper. You can use old newspapers or just tape together A4 sheets of paper. Anything works. So, on top here, you draw the quarter length of your waist, and then you just measure down the length that you want, and you have this rectangular shape. Cut it out. And now you want to divide this line, the waistline, by 3, more or less, and draw vertical lines. And then you're gonna cut them all the way up from the hemline, but make sure to keep the pieces intact on the top. Sometimes they break, and if they do, don't worry. You'll see what to do in a second. Now, to make it very visual for you, I take another piece of paper and I spread the lines this way. I spread them to the 90 degrees, right? So this one stays facing down 90 degrees and this one goes kind of perpendicular. And if it's not 100% accurate, it's a little bit like this, it's not a big deal. It won't even be visible, okay? And now you can redraw it on the new piece of paper, tape or glue it, whatever works best for you. And then, of course, you want to add your hemline along all the way. You can just either do it by the eye measure, or if you're not sure, you can just measure from this waistline down multiple times to make sure that you have nice accurate hemline. And what you're getting, you have your perfect quarter of a circle with your waistline in it. And of course, as you can see, you might need to correct it a little bit because those rectangulars, when we fold them, they have a bit of angles. You don't need the angles, just nice curve. And that's it. That's the pattern ready, and there was no need for your school formulas. If you happen to have a really large piece of fabric, you might even be able to fit it all in and cut it in one piece. If you buy the fabric on the roll, it's unlikely to happen, but for example, if you want to repurpose your old bed sheets, that's your biggest chance for one piece of fabric. That's the laziest way for the skirt. No seams beyond the hemline and the waistline. In this case, you're skipping the zips and you're also skipping the pockets. All that is left is to add the waistband. If you want really lazy way, the way I did it, it's just a folded over waistband stitched to the skirt, and then I inserted elastic and finished it off. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're making this super lazy way with elasticated waist and your hips are bigger than your waistline and you want to be putting on your skirt through your hips, instead of the waistline, you'll be using your hip measurement. Technically, your waistline will be bigger, right, to fit the hips, but don't worry because all the fabric will be gathered over here with an elastic. And the same principle applies if you want to put your skirt through the head. You want to consider your shoulders and your boobs. You want to make that hole for the waistline a bit bigger, right, so you can fit in. And with one piece of fabric, there's also the way to insert the zip and add the pockets, like maybe patch pockets or welt pockets. But this to me already goes beyond very lazy design, so I'm not covering this. Instead, I'm going to give you two other options. If you want to insert the zip, the easiest thing to do is to add at least one seam. Even if you have one piece of fabric, you can just cut it somewhere, whatever. You can just draw a vertical line towards your waistline so that you have a seam, a space to insert your zip into. And the easiest, in my opinion, way to add pockets to the skirt is to insert them into the side seams, which means you would want two side seams. So in this case, you can make your skirt out of two pieces, or if you also want to have the zip on the back, it could be full front piece, then side seams for the pockets, and then two pieces for the back and zip in the middle. Or, which is a most likely situation, you simply don't have enough fabric to cut the skirt in one cut, and you just cut it out of 4 pieces, right? So 4 identical pieces, stitch them together. The front seam is just the front seam, the side seams are used for the pockets, the back one for the zip. Second super simple design based on a circle is the half circle skirt. So if you want to make half a circle, you only need 2 quarters, right? 1/2 of the circle. And let's imagine that you will use 1/4 for the front and 1/4 for the back. What's the difference with the previous pattern? the length of this waistline, because now you're not using 4 pieces, you're only using 2 pieces. What does it mean? That you want to divide your waistline into 2, and when you draw your rectangular, you put half of the measurement of your waistline there. The rest remains the same, and the pattern looks slightly different, of course. And one thing here, because the waistline is longer, you might want to draw a few extra vertical lines, so it's easier for you to draw the final hemline. And while we're here, let me also show you the basic principle for the inseam pockets. So you connect them to the front and back details from the right side, and when you go to close your side seams, you just include them, the pockets, into the shape of the side seam. And you can see that I'm using 2 different types of pockets here. Here is why. If I'm making a dress, so it's a full length, and I want to insert the pockets, I'll be using the ones that look like a drop. But if I'm making a skirt, I can extend the shape of my pocket so that I can also attach it to the waistline. So it's a more heavy-duty pocket because it has extra support of the waistline. And that's exactly what I did here in this skirt. And one quick note on these pockets. I love them. They are, to me, the simplest, the quickest to make. But they only work with flowy garments, which are kind of away from your hips. If you make these pockets on something that is too tight to your hips, it would not look right. Very high chance that the pocket will be kind of poking out, opening all the time, and it also add extra volume to your hips. And even if it is what you would like to do with your outfits, this is not the best way to do it. By the way, we have an entire course dedicated just to pockets, all types of pockets, and it's included with all premium packages as a free bonus. Now, what if you want to go in between the full circle and half a circle? Can you make a 3/4 circle skirt? Absolutely, why not? You will draw the same rectangular. The only difference here will be, again, the waistline. And what is it in this case? Correct, 1/3 of your waistline. I'm not even gluing the pattern. You get the drill, right? And now let's go bigger. Double circle skirt, the one that I'm wearing right now. 2 circles, extra volume, and a lot of fabric. What's the difference in the design? None, really. If each circle in our example consists of 4 quarters, then I will need 8 quarters to design this skirt. What does it do to the waistline? I will need 1/8 of my measurement in case I'm making it out of 8 pieces, or I will need 1/4 of my waist measurement if I'm making it out of 4 pieces. But then in case of 4 pieces, I'm not having 1/4 of a circle, I'm having half a circle. I really hope you understand the idea. Of course, keep in mind, the more circles you add, the more fabric you will need. There is a lot of room for experiments with the simple skirt designs. Other thing you can try is position the waistline not in the middle of your donut, but move it a little bit to the top, for example, and in this case, you make yourself a high-low hemline skirt. Also, why not? Could be very interesting. Other super simple and straightforward ideas is to add ruffles to the bottom of the skirt, or to make it a wrap skirt, or maybe it's a wrap skirt with the ruffles. Anything you really want, and everything is based on a very simple circle. And simple doesn't mean boring. Play around with different ideas and see what you come up with. And if you're not sure about something, make the mini models. It's a very quick and easy way to see what works and what doesn't. If you need to practice certain bits, like maybe zips or pockets, you don't need to make an entire garment to practice it. To practice inserting zips, you don't need an entire seam of a long skirt. You just need 2 fabrics that imitate the seam. And my skirt is made out of very lightweight cotton poplin, and I used 7 meters to make it. And the most time-consuming part of making the entire skirt was the hemline. It just kept going and going and going forever. And one more thing to keep in mind, they will blow up in the wind. Double circle actually not as much because the fabric is quite heavy, but single circle, and especially if it's shorter, it will be up if it's really windy. If you do want a Marilyn Monroe type photo, this is a great design for that. Anyway, that's all I have for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. As always, stay creative, and I'll see you next time.